Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Jax and this is kind of going to be a random talking through speed paint kind of video. And it's basically going to show my process of going from a black and white painting to how I add color to it. So some of you guys may have noticed that in many of my recent speed paints, I've been starting out in grayscale a lot. And some of you have asked why I do this, and no one asked for a video, but I'm going to give one to you anyway because I feel like chatting. So this is not really even a tutorial because honestly I only started painting in black and white really recently, like in the last few months or so. And this piece is actually the first where I've done so much of the painting in black and white. If you keep watching through, you'll notice that really all the details and stuff are painted in black and white, and it's not even until the very end that you start seeing any sort of color. So really this video is as much for me as it is for you guys because this process is still very new to me, and every time I try out a new technique I always tend to forget how I got there. Like sometimes when I want to use it again, I can't remember how I did it previously. But this way of talking it through will hopefully help me consolidate the process in my mind and improve upon it when I want to use it again in the future, rather than having to constantly reteach it to myself. Just a quick disclaimer, while I did do most of the painting of this piece in Medibang, the colors were added with the help of Photoshop. I mean, you could try some of the same techniques in Medibang and get maybe part of the way there, but let's be honest, Medibang is pretty lacking in the filters and color correction department, so Photoshop all the way for the final color editing. So with all that said, I'm going to start from the very beginning of why I decided to use grayscale to paint most of this drawing. So this piece was a commissioned piece, but it's a little different to my usual commission works. Rather than featuring a specifically designed original character, the commissioner was after more of a tarot card style art piece. Something which I've never really done before, and I'm going to be honest, when they sent me the description of what they wanted, I was a little nervous. So basically let me sum the description. So they wanted a crow with a third eye and an otter in a pond. Both animals are holding goblets, but the three-eyed crow is pouring the water from their goblet into the otters. At the left side shore of the pond, there's a cluster of cattails. On the right side, there is a sword sticking out of the ground, which has a black handle. Between the two is a cauldron that is encircled by antlers on the ground. In the background, a tree is getting struck by lightning. The sky is clear, painted in a sunrise. Above the rising sun, a full moon hangs and is surrounded by stars. And of course, all these elements are probably easy for you to visualize now because it's literally forming on the screen in front of you. But poor me, before I knew what it was going to look like, was like, what the hell, what am I going to do with this? There are so many elements, it's going to be an absolute chaos to draw. So I knew going into this, I had two main problems. Firstly was figuring out the composition. I managed to kind of figure this out after a few sketches. I positioned the crow and the otter in the middle to kind of create this circular vector. Their bodies kind of enclosed a circle shape, which should balance the two halves of the piece. And then all the other elements, like the tree and the cauldron and the sword, were placed around them to kind of reinforce this circular composition. And then you kind of have the goblets in the center between the two animals, linking the two parts of the circle together, and also acting as something to go into the middle of the circle so you didn't have too much empty space. The second major problem was color. Now, when you have so many different elements in a piece, it's quite common that they'll all have different native colors. So, you know, water, typically aqua-ish, the bark of the tree have their own shade of brown, plants have their own sort of green, both the animals have their own native colors. And then finally we have the color properties of the three different lighting sources. So there's this sun that's setting in the background, there's this full moon in the night sky, and then there's this random lightning just coming out of nowhere. So I'm really hoping I'm getting across how overwhelming this task was for me to tackle. In my usual works, I typically like sticking with 2, at most 3 major color tones and maybe like one main source of lighting. So I knew going into this painting process that doing it with color straight away was just not going to be an option. Hence, in this situation, I decided, hey, let's try to do this all in grayscale first. Decide the values, render the details and the shadows before having to tackle the whole color problem. And boy, let me tell you, I was glad that I made that decision. Not only did it kind of let me experience the joy and ease of mind of painting in grayscale, like you only had one hue to work with, gray. So I only needed to worry about picking whether my next color would be darker or lighter than the one that I was currently using, and that was just such a massive relief. Like I didn't have to think about whether the colors matched or not, or whether certain things needed to be more or less saturated. It was really an uplifting experience. So my general idea when it came to laying down the values was I wanted the silhouettes of the animals to stand out because they are essentially the main features of this composition. And this worked out quite well in my favor because the crow, who was, quite dark, contrasted really nicely with the light sky behind it. And the otter, who was more in the shadow, I actually made a conscious decision to make them, or at least their head, a little lighter to stand out from the darker background. Not that the lighting really made sense in this physical space, but you know what? When you have a moon and a sunset and lightning, screw physics, you make your own lighting rules. Anyway, and I kind of ended up getting this kind of yin and yang thing going on, which really fitted with the circular motif. So yay, that worked out. Once I had the major elements positioned, that's when I could comfortably start going into the details. Generally, my process for this was to start with a dark base and then layer lighter and lighter areas on top of it. So you can see this with the bark of the tree, the crow's wings and feathers, as well as the otter's fur. I find it a lot easier to keep things pretty dark and then slowly build light on top of it, and breaking out the really bright highlights towards the latter stages when you really need to make things pop. So my basic tip when you kind of start this value painting process is to start darker than you think you probably need, and that way you have a lot of room to make things lighter and to make the highlights really pop and contrast with the dark when they need to. And that's all I really have to say about the value painting part of this process. It's definitely a very new technique for me, and I'm definitely hoping to improve upon it in the future. Alright, and this is where I start laying down the color. And if there's one thing I can tell you, it's that I really don't know what I'm doing. So while we're still in Medibang, we can start laying down some of the super basic color regions. Me being me, chose of course a nice complementary-ish color scheme. And so what I did was I created an overlay layer on top of the grayscale layers. And you do this by making a new layer like you usually do, and then setting the blending mode of that layer, which is in the drop-down menu underneath the opacity slider in the layer box, and choosing the overlay option. The way color on an overlay layer interacts with the layers beneath can be a little unpredictable though. From my experience, you generally want to stick with this certain region of your color palette, so around this kind of mid-level value area, and never going anywhere too far to the right, so never going anywhere too saturated. And you can end up with some pretty nice organic results. The grayscale you lay the color on really does a good job of desaturating the effects of your overlay colors, which is really important in a piece like this where there would have been so many colors playing together. You don't want anything being too glaringly oversaturated. Rather, what I was aiming for in this process was to have bright saturated pops of lighter areas, such as the sky behind the crow, because you have a nice sunset going on there, and also like the highlights on the golds of the goblets. And then contrasting that with kind of desaturated, cooler shadows, which is what the grayscale layers beneath it provided. Okay, so there's only really so much you can do in Medibang though. I did fiddle around a bit with the hue and saturation and curves functions in Medibang just to slightly adjust the colors to edge more to what I kind of wanted, but both these filters are actually far more powerful and superior in Photoshop, which is where I exported my file to next. So in Medibang, you actually have the option to export your drawing file as a PSD file, which is what I did, and then I simply opened it up in Photoshop. I absolutely love this compatibility between the two programs. It's an absolute lifesaver. Let me start off by saying that you're not going to get too much out of following exactly what I do. The entire process, as I mentioned, is really just trial and error. The best thing you can really do is learn what some of the different filters do, like exactly what they do, and then just play around with them yourselves to achieve the effects you want. So the first thing I did in Photoshop was create a brightness contrast filter on top of everything to make everything a little brighter since the details were kind of getting a bit lost in the darkness, and also up the contrast just a touch. So after the brightness and contrast, my usual go-to is the curves function, which is a super versatile filter for adjusting the overall values of your piece, but also lets you go into each of the individual RGB color channels and adjust how much each channel you want in your piece. For this particular piece, I think I ended up deciding I wanted a kind of overall warm tone. So I basically increased the reds in the red channel and also kind of increased the yellows in the green channel. So if you kind of pump up the green curve a bit, it actually kind of enhances the kind of more yellowish tones in your piece. And then what I wanted to do was I also wanted the shadows to be a bit warmer. So instead of having them cyan kind of like they were before, I pushed them more towards the bluish indigo purple hues. I also added a color balance filter to achieve more or less the same thing. Both curves and color balance filters affect pretty much the same things in your piece. They're just kind of presented in different ways. So whichever one you kind of find more intuitive, you can go and use. It's quite common for me to have multiple curves and color balance layers in one piece, especially when I don't really know what kind of effect I'm after. Like I said, it's all trial and error. I frequently create filters, playing around with them, and decide I like the original one better, and then delete the filter. And finally, I actually merged all the layers, filters and all, and then imported it as a PSD file back into Medibang. Yes, we're done with Photoshop now, and since Medibang doesn't support Photoshop filters, we're merging all of them to retain all our color corrections and then transferring it back into Medibang where I'm going to do the final touch-ups. So what I basically did as this final part of the process is just cleanups and details. So I added some highlights where I see fit, such as like behind the crow and to like the bits of water that are splashing out. And also I added some leaves and stuff because why not? Just an extra bit of something to, make the piece look like it's completely done. And yeah, then we're basically finished. This is the final piece. I am actually quite pleased with how it ended up turning out. I was so afraid when I started that it was going to turn out looking like an absolute chaotic piece of rubbish. But starting the grayscale value coloring and adding color as a wash on top in the latter stages really made the entire process a lot more seamless and probably saved me a lot of frustration and heartache. Anyway, I really hope you found the comments in this video helpful. I know it really wasn't much of an in-depth tutorial, but it never was supposed to be. Not until I get the technique for adding color to grayscale, properly down into a explainable procedure. In the meantime, I really hope you enjoyed experiencing my own learning process with me, and thank you for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video. Bye!